Hi, beloved BSECers. Good to welcome you back into our home. And this is a sacred weekend for the next few days or the next week. Is an interesting time in the celebrations and the cycles of the seasons. And as we close out one season and move into another, there have always been feasts and celebrations. So all of us know about Halloween and probably have at one time or another had too much candy because of it. But what I want to frame is about the energies around us. We as good body story experts know that we're ever reading the energy that's not only within us but between us and individuals and us and objects and us and spaces. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the energies of place. So, you know, when I lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, as a gay man and as an openly activist gay man, as a therapist, I'd been on TV and so forth. I was very wide open. And while I was there, you know, I didn't feel like I had any great fear about being an open person in that space. But what I noticed was every time I came to San Francisco, something would change in my body, that my shoulders would drop, I'd have an ease in my breath, and I just felt more relaxed and embodied every single time I came to San Francisco while I was still living in Cincinnati, Ohio, before I moved here. And what I realized rather quickly was that there was an energy of space. So the space in which I was open out and manifesting the world that I could in Cincinnati, Ohio, had an energy, and it had a homophobic energy in it. But I didn't let that stop me in any way. And then moving to San Francisco, what I realized was the energy here was inclusive, and so there was a level of safety in which my body just relaxed, that I didn't have to kind of look over my shoulder and see what was going on, because I knew in my body sensed that it was safe. So that's one level of thinking about the energies around us. And right now, there are a lot of pretty crazy energies going on in the world. So I'm bringing this to your attention so that you can be even more self-loving and self-caring. And putting yourself in love and light, and really, no matter where you're at in the world, you are safe and you can be safe. But to realize there is the energy of place, the energy of environment around you. Along with that, the bright side is that this is a week where things kind of open up. So people, whether they come from earth-based traditions and pagan traditions, whether they're Christians of multi-flavors, this season is a season where many rituals remembering people, especially the dead and our ancestors, are very common. And so as good body story experts, that energy is around you in this week, and I just want you to be able to kind of play with that, notice it, and at least be mindful with it. So the very simple thing I'm going to invite you into is, you know, we've talked a lot about updating our relationships, and part of updating our relationships is simply speaking how we are in relationship to anyone right now. So I'm going to use my mother as an example. My mother was always a big cheerleader to me, and so I'm very grateful for her in my life. And yes, I had many body stories from her and have worked a lot on that. And I'm sure from time to time there will be new stories for me to clear with her. But today I want to, and my mother obviously is on the other side at this point. I want to just honor her and to welcome her energy into my life, into our life, Donnie and I, and the work that we do. And we do that rather regularly. But I'm just bringing some kind of concreteness to the ritual. My mother loved flowers, and we had lots of flowers in our yard, and interestingly enough, we have a lot of these geraniums in our garden out front, and there were geraniums all around our house. So I wanted to bring one of the geraniums and just leave it in for what the Hindus call a puja. So the idea of puja is an offering. It's something that you're saying thank you. You're saying hello. You're saying I honor you. So I'm leaving my puja of this geranium for my mother. And my mother was in one period, at least in her life, before TV dinners, she was a big baker, and so she would bake lots of things, and cobblers and pies, and so she would use whatever fruit was available. So we had a cherry tree in our yard, and neighbors would, or farmers that, relatives that we had, would oftentimes give us apples. So she would make apple cobblers. So I'm wanting to just remember my mother and honor her by actually offering her some apple. And so I'm just kind of cutting up a few slices of apple that I'm just going to leave here on this little altar space that we've created for today, and just remembering my mother and saying thanks to her. Because if she were here, she'd probably want to make an apple cobbler out of the apple that I had just given her. So the other offering, of course, is just updating our relationships. If my mom were here right now, if somebody that you really loved, who's gone on, were here right now, what would you want to say to them? Because when we do that, we open up the energies of giving and receiving being one and the same. And we also open up the possibility of them at least energetically being present with us, so we don't feel alone in times that we might. And it's easy when things are kind of getting chaotic to feel alone or sometimes to isolate. So doing something as simple as, put up a picture and a candle, bring some favorite foods in, and to say to your ancestors, so in this case, my mother, what I would say to her is just, I love you, and I really miss you, and I wish you were here to celebrate all of the triumphs that Donnie and I are having. And I'm asking your help for the places that are challenging for us in these times, because I know you had a lot of wisdom. You know how to play with money, you know how to organize things. So I'm asking some of your mastery to come through and to remind me of what you even knew then and what you might bring literally to the table of our lives now. So I'm remembering Mom. Her name was Anna Prine, and I'm remembering her on this weekend where we have the celebration of All Souls Day in the Catholic Church, All Saints Day in the Catholic Church, and in paganism you have Samhain, which is the holiday of the ancestors being celebrated, the dead being celebrated. So people around the world are energetically remembering those people who they wish to honor. And I'm inviting you into being mindful for yourself to honor the dead, especially those that you wish to say something to. If there are some things that come up for you that are incomplete, that you as a good body story expert can also say that, like, Mom, I'm remembering a time, and I just want to update my relationship with you about that. So use this moment in time where energetically many traditions would say the veil between the living and the dead, those who have transitioned, is very thin. So whether that's true or not, take this time in the next few days, though, to pay your homage, to say your thanks, to do any kind of clearing work that you want to do, so that you stay freer, that you stay open to the flow of abundance and support that they can give you. And as in all traditions, Spirit and the ancestors are always saying to you, you're not alone, and you'll never be alone. So this is what I wanted to bring to you, just for you to play with, and in this time of Halloween, that hallowed period of time where the veil between the living and the dead is very thin. So love you all. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.